Like many different forms of entertainment, sport has a long history of conspiracy theories based on differing opinions surrounding decisions made in matches and competitions, along with the dealings which take place outside the immediate game. This video will be looking to uncover some of the details behind the most bizarre conspiracies in football and providing you with an insight into the darker side of sport. But before we get started, please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps the channel more than you can believe, and we're looking to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Help us to make that happen. Hit that big red button. Now, when dealing with topics such as conspiracies, each one will vary in their level of sensitivity. So before the video starts, here's a disclaimer stating that towards the end, we will be covering a few sensitive topics. As the types of conspiracy do change a lot in this video, I'll be going through them in an iceberg format, starting with the better known theories at the top, moving down to the lesser known and darker stories which have been told across the world at the bottom. So make sure to watch all the way to the end of the video. Now, our first conspiracy revolves around Howard Webb, a Premier League referee from 2003 to 2014. In this time, he was constantly goaded by fans for appearing to make biased decisions towards Manchester United. In this period, Manchester United were also, conveniently, their most successful in the Premier League era, and it was claimed that referees acted more favourably towards Sir Alex Ferguson's side. He became a figurehead for this conspiracy within the whole of refereeing when Ryan Babel posted this image of Webb in a Manchester United shirt following a match between Manchester United and Liverpool in the FA Cup in 2011. This match finished 1-0 to the Red Devils, and it was claimed that many decisions went against the Liverpool side, resulting in this post being made. In terms of conspiracies, this is one of the most well discussed within the Premier League era. This conspiracy theory was given more weight when former EPL referee Mark Halsey stated on social media back in 2016 that he had been told to say that he hadn't seen incidents on the pitch which had taken place in Premier League games. Now, this instruction came to him through the PGMOL and not the FA, which is quite interesting when they want to keep fair and clear officiating running. Maybe this is one of the reasons that VAR was introduced into the Premier League 3 years later. But VAR has its own conspiracy behind it that we will discuss later on in this video, so stay tuned for that. Up next within the top tier of the iceberg, we have UEFAlona. Now, this is the given name to the idea that UEFA favours Barcelona in European competitions. The most famous example of this was in the 2009 Champions League campaign when Chelsea hosted Barcelona in the second leg of their semi-final. With Essien scoring a wonderful volley after 9 minutes, Chelsea held the advantage and just needed to win after recording a 0-0 draw at the Camp Nou. But this advantage was to be pushed to the limit as the game progressed. A foul from Abidal on Drogba in the penalty area on the 26-minute mark was simply waved away by the referee and play was allowed to continue. Later, a blatant handball in the box by Piqué is ignored, followed up by a second obvious handball right in front of the referee, which is also ignored. This second handball occurred in the 90th minute after Barcelona had equalised through Iniesta, which prompted Michael Ballack to furiously run alongside the referee, demonstrating his view very clearly that a mistake had been made. Chelsea manager Gus Hiddink described it as one of the worst refereeing performances he has ever seen, and this all culminated in the famous Didier Drogba clip where he states that the decisions made in the game were Following the events of this game, the match itself has gone down in history, being one of the most infamous games of football to ever take place in the Champions League. More recently, the referee in charge of the game, Tom Henning of Rebo, mentioned in an interview with Spanish newspaper Marca that he was not proud of his performance and apologised to the Blues. "It was not my best day, really," of Rebo said, "but those mistakes can be committed by a referee and sometimes a player or a coach. Some days it's not at the level you should be. There are handball situations, I judge them on the pitch, and I think it's not interesting to know what I think of those decisions once judged." Avrebo later went on to say, "I made decisions and they were not the best, but it is difficult to say if, without that refereeing, Barcelona would have been eliminated or not." Now, we are beginning our descent into the second tier of the iceberg. These conspiracies are less well known overall, but are still popular among the football community. Up first, in this section, we have hot and cold balls. Now, this conspiracy centres on the idea that when official draws are made in competitions across the world, the balls are heated or cooled in order to predetermine the result of a draw. Sepp Blatter, of all people, stated in an interview that European draws have been fixed in the past with the use of hot and cold balls. He went on to say in this interview, "They put the balls in the freezer beforehand. It's a simple thing to compare the balls and determine which are cold and which are warm. The moment you touch them, you know." Despite this admission, in quotes, from the former FIFA chief, it'd be very hard to tell whether this truly does happen in the modern game, but it has been noted that strange reactions have been seen on the faces of people doing the draws when they start the process. Next up, World Cup bribery. When it was announced that Russia and Qatar would host the 2018 and 2022 World Cups, the decision was met with a significant amount of skepticism. With the next tournament fast approaching, many allegations have been thrown in the way of Qatar being the host country, including bribery, poor safety regulations for workers, and the use of migrant workers to complete the stadiums. The alleged bribery behind awarding the World Cup to Qatar can be seen as a cause for the awful death rate of the workers, as over 6,500 workers have died since construction began for the World Cup this winter. It has also been argued that the awarding of the World Cup to Qatar helps with the process of sports washing, which we covered in a video a few months ago. Make sure to click the link above and check that video out. Moving down to the next tier, but keeping with the World Cup related conspiracies, doping at the 2018 World Cup in Russia. While nothing has been proved on this theory, it's still one which captured the attention of the global audience when Russia played matches at their home tournament. Images displayed small raises on the arms of Russian players such as Dzyuba here, which may have come from injections provided by the medical team. The reason for this theory stems from the Russian team's fantastic run in the World Cup, reaching the quarterfinals for the first time since 1970. Was this achievement due to the sheer passion of playing for your country at a home World Cup, or is it part of something darker? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Next on this level, we have Lasagne-gate. Incredibly famous in the UK, but less well known across the rest of the world. Lasagne-gate took place in 2006 at the end of the Barclays Premier League 05-06 season. Tottenham Hotspur, in pole position for the coveted 4th spot of English football and Champions League qualification, faced West Ham away, needing to win to secure European football for the 06-07 campaign. One pre-match meal would change everything, as 10 first-team players were affected by illness the night before. Players such as Jermaine Defoe, Michael Carrick and Aaron Lennon were all hampered by illness, resulting in Spurs requesting the game to be delayed until 5 PM. This request was rejected and the game took place at the normal time. This resulted in a 2-1 loss to West Ham, while neighbours Arsenal won the game 4-2 against Wigan, clinching 4th on the final day. Following this, Chairman Daniel Levy requested tests by the Health Protection Agency on the food at the hotel, which soon proved to be negative for sources of food poisoning, and subsequently, players were identified as having norovirus. On record, players thought there was something wrong with the food and thought it had been tampered with prior to their consumption. Tottenham fans believe there may have been foul play involved, with maybe a West Ham or an Arsenal fan being behind the poisoning allegations. Was Arsene Wenger in the kitchen? I guess we'll never know. Up next, we have two conspiracy theories that have been gaining traction heavily on social media over the last couple of months. Up first, Bayern Muscles. This theory revolves around the idea that once a player moves to Bayern Munich, they instantly gain a significant amount of muscle in a short time. Many people believe this is due to Bayern's medical team utilising a form of steroids in pre-season, getting players bulked up and ready for the new campaign. While the changes do appear to be significant, it's highly unlikely that this is the case, as many PEDs do show up on drugs tests which footballers take regularly. A more sensible answer to this theory is that Bayern are leaders in the football environment of utilising data to target specific areas in which players can improve their ability. Thomas Müller described certain training sessions as brutal, as Bayern worked on a progressive overload system, gradually increasing intensity over time while balancing this with the right nutrition, sleep, and stress levels. In one interview, Thomas Müller said, "The players would have liked to have launched our dear professor into outer space, while brutal became the buzzword frequently used among the players during training sessions." Now, the next conspiracy may be a bit hard to believe, but hear me out. Alvaro Morata is a front for money laundering across European football. Morata has obtained a reputation in recent seasons that no player would ever want to have. He isn't very good, yet he continues to amass high transfer fees everywhere he goes, with a combined transfer fee throughout his whole career of €189 million, the 4th highest in history as of June 2022, only lower than Lukaku, Neymar and Ronaldo. When looking at the stats, Morata has never scored more than 15 goals in a season, usually averaging just 10 for each club he plays at. Now, this theory states that FFP is the main reason why clubs sign Morata, as rules state that a club is only allowed to spend €5 million over what they earn in every 3-year assessment period. This means if a club sell, for example, Morata for 50 million, they are allowed to spend 55 million on transfers. As a result, Morata, as a high valued asset, can help a club to spend a greater amount on other areas of their squad should a buyer come in for him. This removes the need for owners to invest further and provides a, quote, clean source of income for the club, hence the phrase money laundering. Is Alvaro Morata just someone that never lives up to their potential, or is there something else going on here? Make sure to comment down below what you think and we'll reply to the best ones. Getting ever deeper into the iceberg, we have Inhaler FC. In 2020, a conspiracy theory about Liverpool FC went viral on Twitter, with many subscribing to the thought process that 63% of the Red squad consists of asthmatic players. The treatment for asthma include inhalers, which in some treatment cases can include substances which can be used as PEDs. The common belief with this theory is that it originated from a Russian whistleblower with inside information, but later turned out to have just originated on a Manchester United fan forum. So maybe the Liverpool team is just good? Nah, Can't possibly be that. Up next is something that we covered in podcast episode 7, and this scandal started as a conspiracy theory in Italy when fans noticed strange decisions being made in matches, including Juve, AC Milan and Lazio. So what happened? Well, telephone calls from club officials were being made to referee organisations requesting for decisions to be made in favour of their teams. An investigation was requested in 2006 once the corruption had been discovered, but the Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, who was president of AC Milan at the time, decided to reject any form of investigation from being started. The eventual punishments: Serie A winners Juventus were relegated to Serie B, stripped of 2 Serie A titles, and had a €75,000 fine handed to them. AC Milan were handed an 8-point deduction at the start of the season, but won the Champions League, so not really the worst season to have immediately after a bit of corruption, eh? Moving down into the penultimate stage of the iceberg, and this one focuses on South Korea 2002. In their home World Cup, South Korea stunned everyone by getting to the semi-finals, beating some incredible teams along the way, including Portugal and Italy. Similarly to Russia in 2018, many fans believe they had some help in order to obtain such an incredible achievement. Now, this theory states in order to reach the semi-finals, South Korea had help from the referees, and this is thought to have been displayed in the actions which took place in both their round of 16 match against Italy and their quarter-final match against Spain. In their round of 16 match, South Korea was set up in a very aggressive 3-4-3 formation. This style resulted in many fouls being made by the South Koreans, yet they were consistently ignored by the referee. In the next round, 2 goals were disallowed for Spain, despite the perfectly legitimate nature in which they were scored. And then further on, despite being treated like heroes in South Korea and even North Korea after their loss to Germany, the view of the campaign for the Tigers had less than a savoury taste for the teams which failed to beat them due to the questionable nature in which the results occurred. Italy simply do not accept that they lost to South Korea and constantly see it as a result that was null and void. VAR is match fixing. People seem to think that VAR is a way to match fix when decisions can go either way. It's a strange theory, and if the referees can't even seem to make a right decision on their own, I don't think they're going to have any better luck making decisions that have pressure on them outside of the refereeing organisation. So I don't think this theory has legs, but let us know below. Do you think VAR is match fixing? We now reach the deepest part of the iceberg, and I'm just going to say this conspiracy surrounds sensitive topics, so viewer discretion is advised. Nike's demands 98. This conspiracy focuses on the heavily implied suggestion that Nike forced Ronaldo to play in the 98 World Cup final the day after he had had a seizure. Following a team lunch on July the 12th, 1998, the day of the World Cup final, Ronaldo and Roberto Carlos returned to their hotel room. Roberto Carlos told the BBC that once they had returned, Ronaldo stated he was scared about what lay ahead, and it was reported that Carlos could tell the pressure had got to him as he wouldn't stop crying. What happened next at 4 o'clock was truly shocking, as Ronaldo began to convulse uncontrollably, eventually foaming at the mouth. Alarmed, Roberto Carlos called for help, and teammates fortunately arrived and prevented the mercurial striker from swallowing his own tongue. The starting 11 was decided by the national team manager, and Ronaldo was not in the team, until the Brazilian Football Confederation president, Ricardo Teixeira, walked into the dressing room and demanded that Ronaldo be included in the team. The official line from Brazil was that Ronaldo announced himself fit to play after simply feeling sick due to his nerves in the build-up. Brazil shockingly lost the match to France 3-0, which prompted an investigation internally. A statement from Nike released the day after said, "With regard to rumours circulating about presumed pressures Nike put on the Brazilian national soccer team so that Ronaldo could play, Nike wants to emphasise that the report of such involvement is absolutely false." Now, this being released the day after raised red flags, so due to the sheer amount of money invested in Brazil, Nike had a lot riding on the success in the tournament, and even more so on Ronaldo being the spearhead for the success and one of the biggest marketing icons at the time. Other theories suggest that Brazil players accepted bribes to throw the match, with 15 million being offered to the squad, according to The Guardian, and that Ronaldo himself was hiding a secret medical condition. All we know is that Brazil played in a World Cup final against France and lost. The specific reason that happened, it's still up for debate to this day. So that wraps up the iceberg video. Let me know down below, which football conspiracy theories do you believe in? Make sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already for more sports content coming your way.